Okay, so we went through a few processes last time in our previous class. I think we looked at Pandas and how to create data frames, save and store, and then we looked at how to iterate. We looked at how to, slice and all that. So today, what I want us to do is, I was thinking of us going back to the classroom to probably go through a certain theory, but I feel like the theory just makes things a bit more, you know, all over the place. So why don't we just try a simple project? So what I want us to do today is try a project. We are going to create ourselves a data set of students' names and their scores and the exams and stuff like that. And then once we are done, we would use that to play around, sort the data, group data, and all those things. So we'll look at how these ones work. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen. So today there will be probably no theoretical class. So let's just head into the practical aspect of it all. Okay, so let me share my screen. Then we start with the usual. We go through command prompt. Then Jupyter Notebook. Okay. Why is this taking so long? Let me. Let's more. Awesome. Now we have it. Okay. So we go to our desktop, then our Python folder. Okay, so we create a new file for today. So let's call it, it's going to be a project, so let's call it academic report. That's what we'll be creating today. So we are going to start the process from scratch all the way to the end. So you can actually see, so let's call it academic report. Okay. Now, we know that we will be using NumPy and Pandas. So what we do is we import them first, because if we don't import them, we might not be able to use them within the code. So usually you notice that most of the importation is done on the at the very top of the page. So we first of all import NumPy as NP, and then we import what's the name? We import Pandas as PD, And then we import pyplot because I would want us to, once we are playing around, we should also put, like everything that we've done from the beginning till the end, right? We are putting it all together to form like a beautiful project that it's applicable when, especially for those in the teaching field. But if you are not in the teaching field and you are doing analysis on data, this could also help you do that. But this is the practical way, for us to play around with it. So the final one would be to import pyplot. No, pyplot, yes, as PLT. So we have to import that from um, Matplotlib, right? So we run this. It will take some time. Yeah, we are done. So basically, with this, you could either, if you have maybe an Excel sheet or a table of, student name and their scores, that is fine. You can just import it. But in our case, we don't have it. So we are going to create our data because we learned how to create data sets and also the data frames. Then we will see how we go through the process from the beginning to the end. Okay. So just stay with me. If you have any questions or I'm going too fast, don't hesitate to let me know. Okay. So let's start with first off, if we want to, there's one in Pandas that we can use. Sorry, in NumPy that we can use. So in NumPy, if you want to generate random names, there's a command in NumPy called random. Sorry, there's a method in NumPy called random and then choice. So this is what we can do. So we can start with an array of names. So everything we are going to do would be in the form of an array. Okay, then when we finish, we convert it to a dictionary, or we can directly put it into a data frame and all that. So I just want us to go through the process from the beginning, right? So let's start with student names. So student names would be equal to, so we are going to use the function that is available within NumPy to do this. Okay, so within NumPy, there's random, and the random has choice. So you'll say np dot, okay, we'll be using this a lot, random dot choice. You see how long this is? There should be an easier way of doing this. Okay, so can someone help me initialize, like import this in such a way that I wouldn't have to type the random dot choice? Based on our understanding, right? I want to see if somebody can tell me how we can do this without writing this whole thing. Just, make it as short as possible here. Who can help me with this? Don't worry, it doesn't matter if you feel it's wrong. Just put it in there. Okay, so we learn together. Anybody? All right, Apple, your hand is up.
I suggest that you did maybe from NumPy, then you import random.
Very good, very good, very good. Exactly. So if you put random, what else do you do to make it shorter?
And then use the alias.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Awesome. 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 Yes. Yes. So in order to make this easier, we can just import again from here. Okay. We from NumPy, right? Import random as R&D. Okay. Like that. All right. Popolam, your hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to know why are we importing the random? Like, what is the application of the random?
Okay, that's a very good question. So random helps you generate um, several random numbers. We could generate random integers, random floating point numbers, and you can even generate names. You see, for this project that we want to do, right, we want to come up with a report, okay, of students. So let's say in a class you have about 100 students, or let's choose 100 because I want the data set to be long. We have, say, 100 students, right? I I don't want to be writing their names from 1 to 100 here. So I want it to generate those names for me. Okay, so that's why I'm doing that. And even the scores, I'm still going to use random to generate them. So we generate 100 scores. So these are just dummy values for us to use to work. But then if you are working with in real life, you use real data sets. But in this case, we are just using dummy. That is why I'm using random. So random just helps you generate random numbers, random integers, and stuff like that. So that's basically why we are doing this. So now let me let me show this. Okay. So what we want to do now is, okay, this is what we call list comprehension. Okay. You notice that I am running a for loop within a list. Okay. So what this is doing is, I would explain this so we get this. Let me see if it would give me what I'm looking for. Uh, okay. So names. Let me see random choice. Okay, she should be able to generate names for me. I don't know why it's not doing that. Let me just find out what is going on. Okay. So what are the methods that it takes? So A. Now what is A? The one-dimensional array, like an integer. Array like an integer. If an array random sample is generated from its elements. Oh, okay. So this one generates from the elements. So then in that case, you may not be able to use this one for that. Sorry, I should have done something here. Anyway, let me skip to another um, package that we can use. It helps us generate names. So let's use this package instead. But however, if we want to use this package, we would have to import it. We have to install, first of all, um, install it and then import it. So we are going to import a package called names. I don't want to type the names by hand. That is why I'm doing this. So bear with me. So with if I want to import this, I would have to install it. Okay. And I think we've already done that. So let's look at how we install the names. It's straightforward, like we always do. So you go back into your command prompt, open a new one. The other one is running Jupyter, so we can't use it. We open a new command prompt, and then we go pip install names. Yeah. So for those that some might use pip3 and all that, some might use depending on the type of OS you are using, you would know how to do this. Okay. So whilst we are waiting for this to build, let me take us through um, what list comprehension actually does. Okay. So let me just clear this. This was just a help, so we don't need this. All right. So you know that I have a list. Let's say a list of numbers. So let me call it first list as always. First list. Okay. And then I have these numbers. Okay. Um, all right. And I want to loop through these numbers and print them out. What would I do? What would be the command? I want to see it in the chat. I want to loop through these numbers and print them out. What would be the command for this? Who can help me? Put your answers in the chat. Let me see. The package is names, just names, NAMES, names. Let me show it from here. Yeah. The package is names, names. We are going to use it to generate names, that's all. I don't want to be typing names, that's why I did this. So it's not something that will be needed. It's just something to help you go by if you want dummy information to work with. Now I want to write this. I want the command to do that. I want to loop through this list from 1 to 0 and print them out. So what I want to see is 1, 3, all the way to the end. I want to see like it should print 1, 3, 2, 6, 4, 0 for me. I think we have done this in the for loop. So I want the command for this. Who can help me with that? With the for loop. I want to print out this based on what we've done so far. Who can help me? We have done this. Yes. Let me see if I have some Avengers in the chat who would come to the rescue. Okay, nice. We have Apple. Very good one from Apple. Let's give it a shot. So I think Apple now is who will we give it to? Are you Iron Man? Because you are the first person that popped up with an answer. So yes, the Avengers, we have Iron Man. Okay, good. So this is exactly what I wanted to see. Print it out. Yes, Kevin, that is good. Very good, very good, very good, very good. But when it comes to list comprehension, there is something that you can do as well. So in order not to go through this like this, another way of doing this, okay, another way of doing this, okay, would be to put it in the form of a list, okay. So yeah. Now that we understand this, before we go into the list comprehension, let's do something more. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to multiply this. I want to find the square of these numbers, okay, one by one, and I want to have them in another list. Who can do this for me? So 1 square, 3 square. So we'll call that new list. Let's call it the squares list. Okay. All right. And what I want to see in this list would be 1 squared, 3 squared, 2 squared, 6 squared, 4 squared, and 0 squared. That's what I want to see in the list. Who can help me? Avengers to the rescue. Oh no. Who can help me? So now we're able to print this. What I want to do is I want to find the squares of all these numbers. How would I do that? And then put it inside the list called squares list. How would I do that? I'll give you like 3 to 4 minutes to figure it out. So I'll be on standby. Okay. 1 minute, and I have. Okay, I have. Okay. 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 Yes, I wanted to use the. I didn't want. I don't want to use. No. Sham. Popolampo. You are using square root, and I don't want to use MP. I want to use the for loop. Okay. So, Kevin. Okay. And then Apple. All right. So I'm going to run through the results from in the chat, and then we'll see how those ones look. All right. So now quickly explain what list comprehension is, then we go. So let's start with I don't think, okay, let's start with sham, the results. So it means that we would have to run this and see what is within them, within your answer. No, this is not what we are looking for. This is not what we are looking for. Now let's try Kevin's results. Let's see what happens. Kevin. Oh, okay. So let me push this here. The challenge with this is going to be you are putting a colon here, and this is a list assignment. It is not a for loop or anything, so this may not work as well. The syntax is not right. Now let me look at Apple's answer. Okay, I just want the other part. Give me a moment. Avengers to the rescue. All right. Let me try this. Yep. Let me see what we have here. Good. So we can accept Apple's answer because it gives us what we are looking for. Let me look at Augustine. Yep, Augustine, this is not going to work either. Okay, let me just try it. Let me just try it and see what happens. Yep, not going to work either. Let me look at Abdul's. Okay. Yes, so Abdul, that's a very good effort. But you are printing them. I want them to be in the list. So, like you see, for this, the values in them are these values. So you have to put them in a list. All right. Let me see what else. Yep. So do you know why you have 0, Morel? What you are doing now is after every square list, you have to save that number. Save that number. Save that number. So what you could have done is you could have appended that you put dot append like that. Okay. Like this. Then you create this list here, this empty list that it would append to. Because if you don't create it, then where would it put it? Then now you print it. It should give you the answer. So what you were doing, it was only printing the last one because you were not saving them. So anytime it iterates, overwrites the previous number, and the last number is 0. That's why we saw 0. So you were right on track, but you were not. You were nearly there. So this is another way of doing it. So now we understand. However, we don't want to go through all this process. We want just one line code to do this for us. Okay. So then what we do is, this is where list comprehension comes in. So what we do is this, and we bring our brackets. Then inside that bracket, okay, what do we do? What do we want? This is the result we want, right? So we pick the squared. So inside this array, we want to have only the square, right? So this is the result we are looking for, but we want to have it in the array. Then we come here and pick this. That's all. So when we run this, let me put another sign in so we see that this is different, right? No error. We bring this here, and we get the same thing. So the same thing that we had to write several lines, okay, for it, same as this, right? You notice that we could just put it on one line. So this is what list comprehension does. Is it clear? So what you want to run here is what you put first, and then your for loop. Then you are good to go. It will generate a list for you. Is that clear?
Please,
Are there any
again,
questions?
again.
Okay, so we want to have, let me pick Morel's answer. I don't want to print. Okay. I want to generate a list of the squares of the numbers within first list. Okay. Let me run first list here. Hey, sorry. All right. So we have this, right? And I want to find this. I want to create another list of the squares. So 1 square, 3 square, 2 square, 6 square, 4 square, and 0 square, right? So this is one way of doing it. So I create an empty list first, then I run a for loop. We all know how to do this. This is not new, okay? So what I'm doing is now I pick the number and I append the squared of that number to the for loop. So I'm just pick square it, put it there, pick square, put in that order for all the numbers here. And when I do that, I'm going to have this array, okay? This array of the squares. But there is another way of doing it, okay? And that is a straightforward approach. That's what we call the list comprehension. So what you do is you create a list, okay? Like initialize a list with square brackets. Then this is the results we seek. This is the elements we want to see in the list, okay? 1 squared, 9 squared. So a certain number squared is what we want to see in the list, okay? So then now we run the for loop for it. So we are saying that put a number squared for several of them, for all the numbers within the first list. And that's exactly what it will do for us. So when we run this, the for loop will pick the first number, which is this num here, and the first number is 1, and it will square it, drop it here. Pick the second number, square it, drop it. Third number, square it, drop it. So you would end up having a list with the squared of the numbers in there. It's a bit complicated this is a bit advanced, but I would suggest if you don't get this, you go with this for now. And the more you practice and the better you get at it, you would be able to do this easily. Okay. So don't worry if you are not able to do this. It is fine. All right. So now that we have this, okay, why did I go through this? I wanted us to generate a list of names, which we did here, which we are doing here. Okay. When I did the random choice, it probably didn't help me. So I would go with another package. And what this package does is generates names for us. So I run this. Once I have it installed, it keeps telling me no module name names. Whoa, what is happening? Let me check. It's installed successfully. So why is it not loading? So let me see if I can load it from here. So yeah, it imports names, so there are no errors. So then why is it not importing in the notebook? Maybe I have to restart the notebook, I think. Okay, so then I'll restart the notebook. Let me restart the notebook. Where do I go? There should be kernel, restart kernel, yes. Yes, restart kernel. Because I don't want to type the names. It's just my lazy self giving me a lot of work. All right. No module called names. Interesting. I understand. I understand. Okay, so what is happening here is that because this Jupyter notebook has already opened, it is not able to pick the previous version of what we are working with. So what we have to do is we have to stop everything and then restart it because we did that, but I don't want to do that. So what I'll do is I'll just install it here. Okay, so I can use it. So let me just create this here and then let me install the names here to save myself the trouble. Pardon the delay. Yeah, let me just get this sorted out. Any question? Let me see. Please look at what I am having. Let me look at what you are having. Yes. So who can tell me why he's having this? Who can tell me why? Can we see the image?
Please, yes, I can tell her why she's having that.
Okay, good. Help
Good.
me out.
Please, because this is how the person is doing it.
Hmm?
It's a for loop. So when the person append the number squared, then
Yep.
it print it. So it's like the print statement is embedded in the for loop. So whenever
Good.
it append it, then it will print. Whenever it append, then it will print. That's the reason why he's seeing this. He or she is
Very
seeing.
good. Very good. That's a very good one. Thank you so much for that. That's exactly what is happening. Because your print statement is in the for loop, it is printing for every iteration. So what is happening is the first iteration appended only one number. So it printed that. The second iteration added the next one and it printed that. The third in that order till the end. So if you want to print only this, the last one, you have to bring this out of the for loop. So what is happening is that this print is now a daughter of this parent for loop. That is why it is going through the loop as well. But if you don't want it to be a daughter here, just bring it outside the for loop by removing the indentation. Then you are going to have your results. Thank you very much, Appel, for that. Thank you. All right. So it says I have to restart kernel to upload it. All right. So let me restart kernel. Let me restart the kernel again. First of all, let me clear reset kernel and clear all outputs. Yes. Restart and clear all outputs. Yeah. This looks a lot better. So now I can delete this. I don't need it anymore. Now, if I run this, I should have names as well. And let me remove this. I'll put it later on. Yes, so now there are no errors. So we have already been through this, our first list. We've been through how we generate the print the numbers. We created, let me just remove this one as well. So we did this, the squared of the numbers. Then we looked at the list comprehension. So yes, Very good. This is the list comprehension. So now what I'm going to do is I want to generate a list of names. Okay. So let's call it student names. Right. We are going to use the package names to do that. Okay. So let's generate that. So we would say names. No, student names, right? Student names equal to, we are going to use list comprehension, so we don't use a for loop and do all the long process, okay? So with the list comprehension, there is a package called get names within names that we are going to use. So we will say call names, right? Inside names, get this package, and this package is called get first names. First name, right? Yeah. Okay. For, we already know how we do it. In range, remember range, right? So range, how many students do we want? Depending on what we want to put there, it could be 100, it could be 50. So to make it more, let's just make it maybe 60 or 70 students, right? Then we generate, right? So now if we come here and run this, we would have a list of student names, okay? Several names here. So this is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to type these names one by one. I just wanted to generate for me. So I could generate 100 if I want to. That's why I wanted us to do 100 names. Let's go with 100 names. So now we have a list of 100 students, okay? Now we want to generate their scores. So we want to have physics, chemistry, mathematics, English and history. Okay? So we have like a very comprehensive table. Now we want to start with physics scores. Physics scores, exam scores, okay? So we are going to use the same list comprehension, or we can choose not to even do that. We imported random, we imported, what do you call it? Random from here. We imported random and NumPy. So we are going to use the two types, using this one and then the long one, and we'll see the difference. So first off, let's start with physics scores, okay? So with physics scores, we would say R N D, because we already called it already dot rand, right? Then into brackets 100 to 100. Let me see, 100 scores. Okay. Let me see the scores we have. No, rand int. So let me add into it. I think rand int is there for integers. Let me see. So random integers. Just one. I don't want one. I want more. So I have to add. Okay. Size. And then the size I put 100 as well. I don't want only one. I want 100 of them. Let me see if I can get 100. Yep. So I have 100 scores. So these 100 scores correspond to the names that I have generated. Okay. So similarly, we could have used, if we didn't import here, random as RND here, which we used here as RND, then what we would have done is this. We would have had to say np dot random dot rand int rand int, like this. So this is how we would have done it. This is how long we would have written it. So what we did was we imported, instead of writing this long, we imported random from NumPy to save us the trouble of having to write this long statement. So now we just shorten it to this. So that is why we did the imports the way we did it. So if I should run this, it should still give me the same random numbers of between 1 to 100 for a list of 100 elements, you see. That is it. So that's basically what we are doing. So now, for this understanding, based on this understanding, we are going to generate more, what do you call it, more scores. So the next score we are going to generate is math. Okay, same thing. You can use this. Let's use the short one so it saves us the trouble. All right, let me leave this for later on if you want to play around with the code. Okay, so you understand why we chose what we did. This one is also different. Okay. So pardon me, I'm lazy, so I don't want to be typing too many things. So let me put a comment here for you to understand the difference. From NumPy import random, yeah. From NumPy. And these two are doing the same thing anyway, so I just wanted you to see the difference. So depending on which one you want to go, you can just use any of them, right? Depending on what you want to do, you can understand this easily. All right, so I ran this and I ran this. So now I want my physics course, mathematics, we run it. We do the same thing. So this is just going to generate random numbers for us, okay? Because I don't want to type all these 100, numbers myself. And then we have chemistry. We run this. Then we have history. Then we have English. Okay. So now we have all these, okay? Okay, so we have physics, math, chemistry, history, English. Are they enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me add one more. So we have, a longer list. And the list would be physics, chemistry, mathematics. Okay, so we can just go with art or something. Let me just do it this way so I don't have to type everything. Art score, very good. So now we have these. Okay, so now we want to generate a data frame with it. Based on what we have studied so far, I'm putting all of them together. So we now have to create a data frame, and let's call it student scores data frame. So data frame, I'm going to use DF for it. So what we will do now is there any question?
Yes, sir.
Nanaba, I can hear you. Do you have a question for us? All right, so we go pd pandas dot data frame, right, into bracket. So what we do now is we can either put all of these in the form of what do you call it, a dictionary, and then assign it to this, or we can do it directly. Okay, so what we will do now is inside this we put all these. Okay, so we are generating a data set. It could be that you already have the file, it's fine, but I want us to go through all the processes. That's why I'm doing it this way. I should have a comma here, I think. Yeah. Then history, English, and then arts. So once I have done this, okay, now I have to tell Pandas what the columns are. So I have to put columns. Is it column or columns? Let me see which one is going to work. So here I create the columns list. So we can put all of this on one line, okay? Let me do it that way so we can actually see something. But I don't want it to be too long. So when I finish, I'll just bring it back. All right. So this is how it will look if we put all on one line, right? Like this. Then the next one will be columns. So for columns, the first one is what? Physics. So we put physics in there. Physics. Like that. The next column is what? Mathematics. Put it in there. Mathematics. Right? The next column is what? Chemistry. We have history. History. And what else? History, English. And then finally, arts. Arts, right? So we are telling Pandas that this is our data. Our data is a multi-dimensional array because if we put all of these together in one array, okay, this is how it's going to look like. So to make things clearer, let me just put all of these in another. Okay, let me just do it this way. I'm sure you get it anyway. So we run this, and it's taking too long. So I don't know, maybe there's going to be an error somewhere. Yeah. 6 columns passed. Data has 100 columns. No, so it's not doing something right. So, oh, okay, so it is putting them in the form of columns. Okay. So let me determine the axes as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, this is actually giving me, let me show you what this is giving me. And that's not what we want. So we would work on it and then correct it, okay? So this is how most projects go by. You try something, it doesn't work, you correct it, and you keep going, okay? So we go this way, and then let's say scores array, okay? And if I should put this inside here, oh, I don't think I need, let me just put everything here like that. And I run this, it works. So let me look at how it looks. Okay, this is too long. I don't like it this way. So let me just do it this way. Yeah, makes it clearer this way. So I run this and then I go back and I check. Let me just wipe this off. All right. So I go back and I check how my array looks like. Okay. You notice that this is not what I wanted. I wanted this to be the rows, but they are the columns. Okay. Understand? So we can check that out and then make this the rows. I wish I could. So these are the rows, not the columns. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, let me see how we are going to do that here. We go here, we say make lists, rows, lists, rows, not columns in Pandas. All right, and let's see what we are going to get. All right. So you see my list, it makes it a column. So then why is it not giving me what I want? So columns is that, yes. So it should have been giving me that. Okay. Oh, if I don't put it in there, it gives me that. Okay. Okay. So these are the differences. All right. All right. So we can create this, transform it, and then use it to be the column. All right. You can do that as well. Okay. 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 So I get how it works now. So we come back here and we can choose to convert all of these, okay, to what do you call it? We can transpose this first and then put it in there. So let me go with as NumPy as array, which we have already done before. Then I put this in there and I find out how to transpose an array in NumPy. So everything you need, you don't, I don't have to keep all these ones in your head. So just go there, numpy.transpose, or you can use the .t, okay? So we have .t, and I see, let me see what happens. Okay, good. So I want to run this, and now let me see if I have 100 columns. It's still giving me 100 columns. I don't want 100 columns. Okay, 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 okay. So then in that case, Sorry, my internet went off, so kindly forgive me. All right, so let's go back to what we're doing quickly. Can I be heard? Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay, awesome. And sorry about that. So let me go back, share my screen, and then we continue with what we're doing. Screen. Yep. All right. So can my screen be seen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now that we have that, what we are going to do now is, like I mentioned, let's convert it to a dictionary instead, okay? So what we are going to do now is, so we are going to create the scores array this way, all right? And in that array, sorry, I'm going to create the scores dictionary. Let's call it dictionary instead. Scores dictionary, right? Then in the dictionary, we are going to pass it for physics here, right? We are going to pass it what? Physics scores, right? Which is straightforward. So we can just do it this way to make it look more aesthetically appealing, right? Then the next will be mathematics. Okay. We are going to pass it the math scores. Yeah. That way the rules and everything would be done for us in a much simpler way. Initially, I just wanted for us to create it through Pandas, but it's not doing what we want. So we just have to switch to something that would give us what we are looking for. And chemistry, we have history, then English. Um, are there any comments? Yeah, but nothing for now. All right, English, we passed it this. Our English course that we created. And then finally, arts. We passed it, the arts course that we created. But I just remembered we nearly forgot something. We need the names of the students. Names, student names. Let's just put it. Student names, right? And for that, we already created names up there. Let me see. What did we call it? Student names, yeah. Bring it here. So now we have our completed dictionary. All right, so now I can clear this. And then we see how our scores dictionary looks like. Bring it here. We run this. Yep. So we have student names all the way, Thomas all the way to 100, too many. English, history, we have all of them. Good. So now what we are going to do is we now have to assign this to the data frame. Okay. So convert it to the data frame. So we said it was what? Student scores. I'm coming. Data frame. All right. I think there's a question in the chat. Let me see. Oh, Wilberforce, sorry. Let me slow down. Okay. So what is happening is I am just creating the data set, okay? We have already created all these ones. All these ones have already been created. So these are just random numbers that we are going to use to represent student scores because we don't want to type it. But in real life, these scores, okay, would be an array of true scores of the students. But we, for the purposes of this work, we just generated random numbers, okay? So that's what we have here. So we first of all generated random names, okay? And we generated random numbers for physics scores, mathematics, chemistry, history, English, arts, okay? And we want to convert it to a data frame that we can work with, okay? But we tried doing it directly, okay, putting everything inside the data frame. I realized that it was not giving us what we are looking for. So now we change the approach, convert everything to a dictionary. Okay, so a dictionary comes in the form of it comes with keys and values. And remember that when we're learning about Pandas data frames, we noticed that it is similar to dictionaries. Okay, so the key now is the column and the values are the rows. Okay, so that is what we are doing. So we have just converted all these names that we have into this data frame that we are seeing here. It's quite long. Okay, the names, about 100 of them, their scores and all that. Okay. So what we are going to do is we want to convert these, okay, into a Pandas data frame. So that is what we are doing next. All right. So let me copy this first. And let me leave this here. Student scores, right? Scores dictionary. Yeah. Give me a second. Yeah, this is the one. All right. So we come back here. And then we say that convert this to a data frame. And we use Pandas PD data frame. Okay. Into bracket students dictionary. Because that's what we have created, right? Let me copy and paste. So with this, we don't need to initialize the columns because what is going to happen is that the keys are now going to become the columns, okay? So let's run this. In absence of no error, it means we have done something great. Now we are good. You see we have it, 100 rows and then 7 columns. So you see the names of the students, their physics score, mathematics, chemistry, history, English, and arts. So in real life, like I said, these will be real values, but these ones are just something we generated randomly for the purposes of this. But remember that when we started this, we said that in order to make this, all right, let me see. AJ says, please slow down. Okay, okay. All right, let me slow down. Let me take in a deep breath. Breathe out. All right. Maybe it's because I'm hungry. That could also be that. But that's just by the way. Okay, so I am saying that I'll go back again. Okay, today's class is about generating an academic report, which we have already learned. Okay, we've learned quite a number of things from the beginning of the course up until now. We've done data types. Okay, we've done control loops and then conditional statements. Okay, we've done NumPy arrays, and then we've done plotting and we've done functions. So everything that we've done so far. I want us to put it all together and then generate a project. Okay, so the project we are working on now is we want to write an academic reporting, app or whatever it is that we want to do. Okay, and to do that, we need to have certain things. Okay, so in real life, what is going to happen is you would have real student names. You would have real student scores for each of the course that the students have taken an exam in. Okay. So in our case, we don't have such information, but we want to create this report nonetheless. So what do? We have to generate them by ourselves. Okay. So we already know NumPy, we know Pandas, we know Matplotlib. In NumPy, there is a method, okay, that helps you, okay, generate random numbers. Okay, so that is what we are going to use. And we imported it just like we import pyplot from Matplotlib as PLT. We imported it as NumPy, from NumPy as RND. Okay, and we need the names of the students. I don't want to be typing 100 names. So there is a module, just like there's a NumPy Pandas module. There is a names module that helps you, okay, generate random names. So you don't have to be typing them, because in the absence of real data, we have to write this. And if I want to write 100 names, it will take the whole of the class. So I'm generating it randomly, okay? In order to do that, I will need to use list comprehension, okay? And I wanted to explain the list comprehension to all of you. So we started with a list, which is this list. And I said that if that's the case, let's print this list for me. So this is a command that one of your Avengers gave to me, okay? You are all Avengers, obviously, but one of you gave me this, and it did this for me. And I said, okay, in that case, I want another list that would be the squares of these numbers. And that is what it did for me. This is the command for that. And I think this is the code for Morel that I used, okay? And this is here. No, this is from, I think this is from Appel, and this is from Morel, okay? So once we did this, now we realize that this is quite long, okay? So we can use a list comprehension, a short form of doing it. Because going for most of my work, I usually use the list comprehension. This is quite cumbersome sometimes, okay? And the list comprehension, you can even have it in, several embedded, nested loops as well, which you have to go through by yourselves. Now we created this list. We understand what list comprehension is. So now if I'm generating the same, names using this is the same thing. Similarly, we can use the for loop, okay? But we don't want to use the for loop. We want to use list comprehension because it's easier and faster. So that's what we use. So now this is a list of student names that was generated for us, okay? Now we want their scores, and we use random to generate some random numbers between 0 and 100, okay? The size of the number of students, the student number is 100. So it's the same thing that we generated, 100, 100, 100, all of them. So we generate physics scores. We saw the difference between the two. What we did here was just see how to use random this way, import this way, and import this way. That's all. Yeah, Popolampo, your hand is up.
Yeah, I want to ask in the list comprehension that you wrote, please can you go up small here, where we just said get first name, then
Yeah.
the dash between the for and the in. I don't really know what is. Can you explain?
Okay, so you see, this comes in when you want to use an internal variable, okay? You see, in our case, okay, we want to use, what do you call it? From here, we want to use numbers because we want to run the numbers within this list, okay? But in this case, we want to use some internal variable dash. So it doesn't change anything, but you notice that, you see, in this case, right, for this, we used this number here. But have you noticed that this function doesn't take any argument? Have you noticed? So if we had used I here, we may have to put I here or something like that, or we can choose not to do that. But since we don't want to use the numbers that we are using, we just want to loop through, right? What we do is we just put a dash here. And that's just saying, oh, we might not need what we are going to use within this. That's all. So it is similar to using number and all these things, but it just have a unique purpose. That's it. That's the only difference. I hope that is clear. Sham, are you with me?
Yeah, please, it's clear.
Okay, awesome. So AJ and I think someone else also said I'm moving fast. So I'm just going through so we get it. Now we've generated the random numbers. These are just cores, okay? But we want to convert it to a data frame because we can choose to work with this, but we may be limited with the things that we can do in the dictionary, okay? Because now this variable is a dictionary. There are certain things we cannot do, methods that dictionary on their own don't have. So what we do is we want to convert this dictionary, which we can see here with the information here, right, into a Pandas data frame like we did on Monday. So all I did was give it the Pandas data frame. What we did on Monday, if you go through the codes, you should see this. This is one of the first things we did in there. So I have only converted this to a data frame. That's all. Okay. I hope it is clear now. AJ. AJ, I hope it's clear now. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wilberforce, is it clear now? Okay. So now we have the student names, okay? We have the student names here, which is a column, their scores in physics. So Thomas had 51 in physics, 84 in math, 84 in chemistry, 80, 55 and stuff like that, in that order. But we don't need this. What we want is that we want to have these names as the column instead. So we don't have to use these ones instead, okay? So if we want to get, we can use, instead of using index, which we don't know who belongs to, we can use their names for the, the work that we are going to do. So what do we do? How do we convert, how do we make student names become the column? We did that yesterday. Who can help me? Who can help me make the student's name become column? Yes, Sham.
Yeah, I think we use this one, set dash index. Then we
Good.
put
Set.
the student name.
Good. Excellent. Avengers to the rescue. One of our Avengers. Yes. So what we do now is we have to use the set index. Okay. If we say index is equal to 0, in the case where 90 you wrote, we use index is equal to 0 when we are importing from a file that we have saved onto our PC. But in this case, we don't have any file that has student scores, okay? So we don't have to do this. So you will look at that as well going forward. So now that we have this, now we are going to say that make this data frame that we have here. Set the column, okay? So the method dot set index to set the column names, student names, okay, to become the index. We put it here like that, okay, and we run this. So when we run this, see what happens. You see now it has shifted the column from having this to this. So now it's easier to get the details of the students. Okay. So an example would be if I can use iLook. If I use iLook, it would use the index. Okay, so let me just do this. Let me come back here. Now, so we have two different data frames, and you see the difference. Okay, so we have this. It works all right. Okay. Now, yes. Now let's give this one a different name. Save it into a different variable. Okay. And then let's maybe give it df1. Okay. So this is different from the first one. All right. We run this. So now when we run this, we now have two data frames. One that has the column as names, and the other that has the index using the student names, and the other that has the 0. So look at this. What we want to do now is, if we want to get the scores, okay, of David, right? We have to, in this case, we have to know the index of David to be able to do that. So to do that, we use the iLook, okay? Then we say PD, no, it's not PD, it's the name of the data frame, which is what? This. If I am going too fast, you just draw my attention, I'll slow down. we have two data frames now. One that has, Abigail, your hand is up.
Yes, please. You are going too fast. And when it comes to the code, when you finish writing the code, please allow us to have a look at it or screenshot it so that we can follow you with it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And the idea was because I always share this after the class. That's how come okay, so now let me slow down. What is the purpose of both data frames? Yes, AJ, you see that in a bit. That's the reason why I created both of them. Augustine, your hand is up.
Doc, I'm also lost. So, like, how to create the data frame from that side. I couldn't see that code.
Yeah, this is what you create a data frame. This is what you do.
Yeah, no, but before we put all this ones together, I'm trying to run my own, but it's not running. If before the data frame,
You convert all these things to a dictionary. That's what we did. So what you do is, you do know what? I know you want to try on your own, but if you are going to type and all that, you might not focus on what I'm doing. So for now, okay,
yeah,
I would suggest focus on me first. And when you get where I'm driving at, when I give you this notebook, it will be easier for you to understand, because this is the first time you are looking at this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would really request that you wait, understand me, the process I'm going through. Then it will be easier for you when I put this, because I always share the notebooks after the class. So you would always have this. And you can play around with it when you have it. Okay.
Okay. So please, so can you continue from go top small, just scroll top. From here. Yes, from here. Can you continue from here for me so that I will get it well? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so today we are left with only 40 minutes. In any case, we'll see what we can do within 40 minutes. So basically, we want to have a list of students, okay, and their scores, but we don't have a data set. Okay, we don't have any data set like that within my folder to call that data. Okay. But for example, if you were a teacher, okay, you would have had this data. But because I don't have it, I am generating that data. And I'm showing you how to generate this data. And for those doing statistics, there are times that you generate data sets very often. And this is something that you can use to generate your data set. So I am just showing you how to generate data. So this is just for generation. It is not like, the real thing. In real life, you wouldn't have to generate this data. It would be available to you because students would have taken exams and you'd have had their scores and their names. And because I'm looking at 100 students, I can't type their names one by one. So I use this module to generate those names. So this module generates 100 names for me, okay? And I use this physics, okay? This score, random int, to generate another 100 names between 0 and 100. Okay, I did that for mathematics, chemistry, history, and all that. So these are the courses that I'm generating. So these are just random data sets generated. They don't have any real life significance, okay? Now, I want to convert this data set into, okay, a Pandas data frame, because if it's a Pandas data frame, there are several methods that are available to me. Like I mentioned, if you buy your phone or something from a certain shop and you have warranty within that shop, there are certain perks that are available to you. You can't take a Samsung phone into an Apple shop to go and claim warranty. You understand? So you need to have created it within that place to be able to use it. So if I want to use certain methods, okay, I can't use them for dictionary if it is in the form of a dictionary. I have to convert this into a Pandas data frame, okay? So that is what I did. That's what I did here. I converted it. So this is just to see the kind of dictionary I have, okay? So this is just showing me this is the key, and then the array are the values, the same for all of them, okay? So now we know what we have within the dictionary. Okay. Okay. So when you come here, right, we convert. Let me put the comments here. What this is doing is converting the dictionary to Pandas data frame. Okay, so we give the dictionary to it as the input, and then it converts it to a data frame. So here we just want to see the data frame. Okay, and like I said, if this is too long for you, there's a shortcut. You can just go to head, okay, and choose the number of lines you want to see. 5 lines will show you only 5 lines here. Okay, so you see it is showing me only the first 5. There are several of them. Okay, so now I want to set, because the index here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I'm working and I don't know the student's index, okay, so you can choose to use index or you can choose the student name, okay. So in some cases, that's why they have index numbers. So you can even use the index number to retrieve it. So like these students would have had index numbers, and you use that as the column. Okay, that's why they call it index numbers. Okay, so you can see which students, and their scores and whatever and whatnot. So basically, now what I did is I converted this data frame that I have, because I don't want 0, 1, 2, 3 to be their index. I want their names to be the index. Okay, so I converted their names here by giving it to this command. Okay, so that's all I did. So I use the student names as index instead of having the zeros and ones. Now what I did here, when I ran this, let me use the head for this one as well. We can choose to have 100, but I choose to have 5, so my work will be more tidy. When we run this, you notice that now you don't have 0, 1, 2, 3 here. Now these names are the indices, okay? So what I want to show you now is I want you to see the difference between having these as the index and having these as the index. That's how come I created 2 different data frames, okay? They are the same, they have the same information, but this one has zeros, ones, and that as index. Okay, the the default indexing that is in Pandas. And this one, I have chosen the index that I want. Okay, so what is going to happen is, now I want for this, okay, I want the last, if I know the name of the last person in the class, okay, the name of the last person I think is David, okay. So if I know the name of David, okay, and I open and I do this. So what I do is I would say .ilook, okay. Then I do this. So I pick the last one, which we already know. If you want the last person, you use -1. What happens? When I run this, you see it gives me that the last student's name is David, and these are David's scores, okay. What if I'm looking for somebody in the middle? I saw that we had some names. Let me see if I can remember that name. Where are the names? Okay, let me just run a certain command here to get the names. Yeah. I just want to get the name so we can pick a name at random and see why we need to use the names as the index. So now I want Kerry's results. Okay. You see Kerry here. If I used these, okay, these indices, how would I get Kerry's number, Kerry's results? I may not be able to do it because I have to know where Kerry is within this data set, because I have hundred of them, okay? So that is where the difficulty comes in. Because I don't know Kerry's number, how do I get Kerry's details? Do I have to go back into the list of names and count till I get Kerry's? That's going to be cumbersome, right? So then this is where this one comes in. Now that you have these as indices, okay, now what you can do is, if, for example, if I do this, okay, oh, sorry, and I want Kerry's, right? This one, it will not work because this command, the ilog command, does not take names, okay? It only takes indices. So it's going to give me an error. So it doesn't take, it only take indices, but I don't know Kerry's in like number in that, in what we are seeing, the index, the default index number, right? So what I do now is, now because I have this code, okay, because I've made this the column, this column the index, it is very easy. I pick this data set, data frame, sorry, and I come here, right? And instead of ilog, I means index location, but this one just uses the label to get there. And when I run this, see the difference. There are 2 Kerry's in my class, so it gives me those two Kerry's. So for example, if in your class you had Kerry's, I'm sure maybe their surnames might be different, so you'll be able to see them. You see the difference with making these as the index and then leaving it like this here. AJ, do you get the difference now? AJ, are you there? So basically, that is why I would rather have the names as the index, so that I can use the names, okay, to get the informations I need. So how do you create head.5? No, the head, so like I have here, this, if I don't bring this head, okay, here, the list is going to be very long, but it would make my work, it would make the code look very long. See, all the 100 rows are showing, and some of them are even truncated. I don't want that. It's too many for me. So this is just for me to visualize my data. Sorry. And so I want to see only the first 5 rows. So head is just giving me only the first 5 rows. It is not changing anything. So I want to see only the first 5. You see now I don't see the plenty lines. I only see the first 5. That's all. So the head is just to show me the first 5 rows. You can choose 10, 20, depending on the number of rows you want to see. All right. So this is a method to help you see the first 5 rows. That's all. All right. So we have this. Now you know why I chose to make them the index, because now it will be easier for me to retrieve the information based on the student's name. So even in schools, right, and you have index numbers, the index numbers would have to be the index instead of having the default index. Exactly, Mano. So ilog uses index location. It uses the index to get the location, okay? And then we have the label location. So the label one is what you are going to use the name, but for the label one to work, okay, you need to have made them, you need to have made it the index like I did here. Okay. So let me see. Let's try something based on Emmanuel, what he just said, for you to see something. So let's go with the data set that still has the column. And let's run this and see what we get. We are going to get an error because there is no location here. In this data set has the zeros and ones as the index. So location would not work. So before location can work, you have to convert this to the index. You understand? This is just for getting one location, but there are several ways. even with this, you can still get the information you want using location anyway. But we would look into that as well. But this is just a simple example for you to understand. A hand was up. Is it whose hand was up? I think it's Abdul Popolampo. A hand was up.
It's me.
Okay, Popolampo,
Yeah,
let's hear it.
now I wanted to ask about the iLock and the lock, but I've seen that you started explaining the aspect. I want to ask, you see the one that has the student score DF1. When you use if you use the lock and you run to get the student, maybe the last student
Yes.
in this to give error. So now I tried that.
Exactly.
So I wanted to
Exactly.
clarify before you started explaining.
Good, good. So like I said, I here is telling you that it's an index. It uses the index to get the location. So you can't put in you can, there are certain things you can do. Going forward, I'll show you how to call the column and all these things. We can make certain things. We can run and do and play around, okay? But in our case, right, we want to be able to easily get information. But if you know every student's index number, okay, in your head, for example, if you're a student in the class, you have only 15 students, and you know that in the order of their names, number one is this, number two is this, number three is this, you can choose to maintain the iLook. But in a class where you have 100 students, you can't have all of them in your head. So best to go with this way, because here, if I put -1, for location, if I put the -1, the label form, it is going to give me an error because it doesn't deal with indices. Okay, so that's what it's telling me. It doesn't deal with indices, so it deals with the name. So that's the difference. Here, if you put the name here, you're going to get an error. Here, if you put index, you get it. So let me try this. Even if I use the data set that has indices 0 to that here, I'm sure I'm still going to get the same error because location deals with labels and this one deals with indices. Okay, so that's the difference. All right, so this is all what we have now. So this gives us that. All right, so now that we know this, okay, we want to find the average scores of Kerry. Okay, we already know that here. So what we can do is we just pick, now that we Kerry is 2, we'll have to pick one of them, okay? So for example, we want to see, what do you call it? Only their, so here, we want to find their mean, okay? Like the average scores. Let's pick a name that is, so now I want to see the unique names, okay? So what do? Let's create a list, okay, from the first data set. So in the first data set, we want only the names. Okay, so we have this, and we call it, what's the column for names? Yes, this is it. So you notice that because I have the I hyphenated it, I can use this. But if I had left this to be spaced, I won't be able to do this. So let's run this. It gives me this, all right? But now there are duplicated names. So I want only the unique names, okay? So you can just come dot unique. So what happens is that this time around, you're not going to have a length of 100. See what happens. This is going to give you only the unique names. You see that now the names have reduced drastically. So it has removed all the duplicates. So this is a command, okay? This is a command that helps you pick unique names so that you don't have duplicated data sets within your data. So this is how you play around it, all right? So these names, you notice that there are no duplicates in these names. So unique gives you the unique names. There are several methods in Pandas that can do that. And if we were working within a dictionary, we may not be able to do this. We would have to do it in a different way. So that is why we want to convert it to Pandas data frame so we can have access to all these methods that are within the Pandas data frame by virtue of the fact that we have created this instance, which has now become an object of Pandas, which I taught yesterday. Sorry, on Monday. All right. So another thing we want to do is, okay, so we want to get, for example, Yvonne here. We want to get her average score across the, we have there are several ways of grading systems now. We have the CWA, cumulative weighted average. We have the GPA. We have several of them. So maybe you would want to find the average scores to be able to do this. Okay. So what you do is we want the average scores of who, maybe I said Yvonne, right? So let's copy Yvonne's. Then we call our data frame. And what's the data frame that we are working with? The one that has the names as column is this here. So we can copy this command. And put it here. And then replace Kerry with Yvonne. So we run this. So Yvonne is, we realize that Yvonne is just a single, we only have one Yvonne in the class, okay? So these are Yvonne's scores, right? Physics, she got that. Mathematics, that. Arts, you can see that Yvonne is doing very well when it comes to English, okay? So what do we do now? We can easily try and describe, okay? Find more information about this, okay? So what we do is, if you want the mean of Yvonne's scores, right? What do? We just put dot mean, right? You run this. So this is the mean score for Yvonne, okay? Now we want the median. It's the same thing. You put median here, we run, it gives us the median. You understand? So with this data frame, you can play around and get the information you need to create the academic report that you are looking for, okay? So when and where to use student names, DF, and okay. So AJ, like I said, if you want to work with the, let me explain this, okay? Again, if you want to work with names, okay, instead of zeros and ones, you have to change this. Let me reduce the font so we can I'll go back to the actual size so you can see the difference. So see these two data sets we have. Okay, let me just copy this, put it under here, so we can have just one line. I want to show you something, so I can just delete this one and I run this. Okay, so now you see what I'm trying to show you here is that you notice that when we first created it, we had Pandas create its own indices for us, okay, zeros, one, and all that. And we are saying that in the class we have 100 students, so the teacher cannot have their names in the head. For example, talking about Yvonne, right? What is Yvonne's index? If you want Yvonne's index, it means that you have to write a command to get Yvonne's index, which is a lot of work because you don't have all these names, these indices of head for all these students. So what do? For it to be easier for you, it is better to make the names of the students the index, so that when you want the information, you use the name to get the information instead of coming to find this indices, okay? So what I did is now we decided to make the names, the index, instead of using zeros and ones. So that's what we did here. So we set the index to student names, and now we have the student name. Name to get their information. We have to use the index instead for this one, this DF, without the one that we have not converted the names to the index. I would have to know this number to be able to retrieve that information. Okay, it is easier if you are looking at the first and the last person. Okay, you can be able to do that easily. But what if you are looking for a student but you don't know which index that student have at the moment you want that information? It will be difficult for you to do that, right? So then, in that case, it becomes better for us to use the names of the student instead of using their index. So at this point, we will be using this more often, because with this one, once we know the name of the student, we can easily get the student's information. Okay, it's the same in schools. If you know the index number, you can easily get the information of that student. Okay, but here we don't have this index number software, so that's why we are using the student names. Okay, so I just showed you here the difference, that picking the last one is the same. Running this is the same as running this. Okay, same thing. Okay, same thing. But you see here, it picked the last person, but this one, it picked all the names, David names we know. You understand? So here, the difference would be, if we had surnames, the surnames would differentiate these Davids that we have. So now we can see that we have 3 Davids. Okay? So this is how you use the name instead of the index. So for this, we'll be using the names a lot more than the index. But here, I wanted to get the names because the names, student names, was a column. Okay. Similarly, if we want to do this here, okay, let me see if it's going to give me the index. Give me a sec. Yes. Similarly, if I want this, okay, it gives me their names, because now the names are the index. But in this case, for this one, right, the names are not the index. See the difference between them? Starting from 0 to 100. So how would you know how would you know Michael's index to get Michael's information using this? It's very difficult. That is why we chose to go this route, where we can use their names to get their information. That is all I did. Okay, AJ, I'm sure it answers your question now. You are clear on this? So we have these, okay? Let me revert to the previous one so you can actually see some of these. Not so clear. You know what? We are going to continue this tomorrow, so I'm sure you are going to get it. It's okay. You would play around it. Now you do student scores, the location. So now we get Yvonne's scores. You get the median for Yvonne. Okay. So what if we have several names that we want to, we have several names, right? Like David, we had David to be like 3 of them. So we run this. Okay. So what is happening here? What is happening here is that it is giving us all the Davids, their median score, and all that. You get it? So that's the difference between using this and that. So in this case, if you have several of them, if you are calling a certain index and that index is not unique, what is going to happen is you are going to have this kind of results. So that's the downside of using this. where there are duplicates. But if there are no duplicates, for example, there are surnames, the name is David something something, and you call that, it would give you only the information pertaining to David, right? So that's why we are doing it this way. Okay. So now I want to understand how my students have fared so far in physics, in chemistry, mathematics, and all that, right? So what I do is I call the data frame I'm working with, and I tell Pandas to describe the information I have. Some of them are functions, some of them are methods. It gets confusing. So, yep. So let me just put it in the form of a function so that I can get better results. Yes. So now it is telling me that this is describing the data I have. Okay. It's telling me that the number of entries or the number of rows I have in that data is 100. Okay. For all the courses. So there might be some of them that you might not have data in there. In some cases, it maybe the student fell ill and was not able to come to class and all that. We would do that. We play around and push something inside so we can understand these things more. Okay, so now what we do is we see the information that we have here. Now we know the mean for physics. The mean is 51, so it means that on average the students are, they are above average. They're about, the mean for all that. So you would see the standard deviation. So the standard deviation will tell us how high above or how low below they are from the mean. And it's saying we are seeing all of these. We can see that in some courses, yeah, they do good, stuff like that. So here you see the minimum score, and here you see the maximum score. You see the percentiles as well. You understand? And this just gives you an idea of how your data is like. Okay. Now let's keep going. Other things you can do with the data. Okay. So one thing we want to do now is, okay. All right. One thing we want to do now is play around with the data a bit. Okay. Let me make it larger so you can see. Yeah. Want to play around. So there are certain things that you want to do with your data. For example, you want to group them according to certain scores. Maybe some students have done better than others, so you just want to play around, right? So let's see how we play around with this. So, for example, we want to get excuse me, sorry. So we want to get, now we can group the students, okay, based on certain things. So for example, we have our data frame. So this is what group by does. So what group by does is we want to group them according to certain things, okay? So for example, we want to group the students that have physics greater than maybe 50 or maybe greater than 7. You want to see maybe all the A students, okay? Good. That's a very good one. So what we do is all the A students for physics alone. So what do? We say that group by, okay, group by we call the column, the column that we want to work with. You can choose to use call this column group by physics, okay? No, let's not use group by first. Let's use this one first. Then I'll come to group by. We'll do the group by and all that tomorrow. Because when I go into group by, it will make it more complicated. So something that you would understand, like what I said, we want to find out the physics students that have done, say, they have a score greater than what, 80 or 90 or whatever, you understand? So what we can do is, now we want to collect all the information, okay? So now let's do this. So we want to collect the location of students, right? Right? Location uses square brackets, sorry. Who have physics what? Greater than 90, okay? This is a simple thing. You want to see all the A students in your class. Or, so we just go review, sorry, so I'm saying that get the location of students, okay, within these data sets that are greater than or equal to 90. All right, let's see what happens. Cannot index with multi-dimensional key. Okay, so we cannot do for multi-dimensional. So what we do is we just pick one row. So let's see for physics. Okay, for physics. And let's run this. So what it does is that we want to see the student that had more than 90 in physics. Okay, so what it has done, it has grouped all of them for us. So you see, these students had more than 90 in physics. Now you can see how they fared in other examinations as well. Okay, so with this, it has given us all this list, but we want to have it only for what? Physics, right? So we just put dot physics here. Let's see what we get. Right. So now you see that we have students that did well for only physics. Okay. So when I did this, I picked a certain row, sorry, a certain column, and I said, check the student that did well within that row. Once we go into group by, we will be able to do it for all of them. So we will see that in the subsequent class. You understand? So now we're able to see how many students got an A in physics. So we can try another approach, okay? We want to see the student that had a B, and a B is between 80, 89, sorry, 89, 80 and 89, right? So we just go this way. So we just go like that. So it is going to be less than 90, or, sorry, so for the or, we use the pipe like that. Or want to find the B students. We have done this before. Remember when we're doing, the for loop and stuff like that. And it is greater than or equal to 80. What is happening is that if the student's mark is less than 90, but greater than or equal to this, I don't have to use or, I have to use end. Yes. If or is going to give me everything, but let me use end. Yes, end is the right way to go. And I run this. It says that the series is ambiguous. Okay, let me just remove this part and let me see something. Let me see what happens. Maybe it does not take the end unless you use group by. Yes, unless you use group by. So we'll look at group by tomorrow. That's where we can do more interesting things. So I think at this point we basically get the idea on how to play around with this if you don't want to use the group by. So we can choose to sort or group, like get information based on a certain criteria. So we want to compare very good students who are in English to how they do in other courses. For example, you want to see how your good English students fare in physics or fare in chemistry and stuff like that, right? So what you do is that you give you give it English, okay? So now what this is happening is that it is picking students that are doing very well, okay, in English, but then you want to get their physics scores, okay? So let's see what happens. So you notice that students that are very good in English, these are just random data, so their physics score is very bad, unless one or two of them. You get it? So this is an analogy you are seeing. So students that are very good in English, so you see the name of the row is physics. Students that are very good in English, you want to see how they do in chemistry. You do it this way. Okay, you run it. Now you see, in students that are very good in English, they do very well in chemistry as well. You get it? So this is how you play around the data to understand how your students are faring in class. So you can similarly you can pick 4, or if you want to see all of them by yourself and you don't want to get it by the column, you just remove this. And when you run this, you see it all. So now you notice that for English students, right, who do very well, most of them are above 90. Their arts scores are not so good, and their mathematics not so good, physics not so good, but chemistry they do very well. So these are some of the things you can do to play around with your data. And Sham, your hand was up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, if we want to find the median, is it possible to for two students? Is it possible to run a code at once for two students to find a median? I've been
I don't
trying
understand.
different, like how we find median for uh, what's the name, Yvonne. Can we do it together with another name so that it will give us the median for two at the same time?
So then it means that you want to find the median scores, okay, for two students, okay. So then it means I have to get the information of those two students and then describe it. Then you get the median for them. Because within the description, there is median. So there are several ways of doing things. So if you are doing it that way and it's not working for you, you can just go that route. Or you can just write a code to do that as well, which we'll look at. You can write a code and then use the dot apply to, do a function to do that for you as well. So there are so many things you can do when it comes to Pandas. I'll show you all of that when we work tomorrow. But I believe everything is clear to this point. Besides AJ not getting the difference between the first and the second, are there any questions? I'll go over this again tomorrow. Are there any questions before we end the class? Our time is up. Any questions? Okay, no questions. So if there are no questions, I'll bring the class to a close on this note, and I would share the notebook with all of you. Let me quickly close this, shut it down first before I'll bring the class to a close. Then we can still shut it down from here, I think. Shut down from here. Shut it down. Then once it's shut down, we can close it. Then we shut this one down as well. I could have done it here, but it's already done. So you just shut all of them down from here. Then you go back to files. Then you shut this one down as well. So once that's done, if I go to my notebook, I should see that it has been shut down. All right, so I'm good to go. Okay, so I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll share this notebook with you in the chat. And if there are any questions, just drop the questions in the chat as well. And let me just do it now so I don't forget. This is the class. Desktop 2026. And the file is, what's the name of the file again? Academic report. Yep. So you have it there in there. So if there are any questions, feel free to, give me a heads up, and then we would all have a look at it. All right. So on this note, I'll see you all on tomorrow, okay, for the final session of the class. All right. So have a great evening, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.